Hey guys, Danny here. Today we're looking at another drone. This one is a little bit different. I got this through a Kickstarter project, but it hasn't been an easy ride because there's been some pretty bad communication with the team that are behind this drone, and also they appeared on sale before anyone actually received their shipments of drone. So I'm not going to go into that, but that's been very frustrating. So I'm going to unbox the drone for you now. We're going to take a look at it. You can see that the design is pretty good. It does have a pretty solid design. It feels really nice in the hand, has a nice weight to it. You can see there you've got your front facing camera and also your visual positioning camera, which faces downwards and helps keep the drone stable. I really like how they've designed this drone and how it folds up. It's really compact, really easy to fit into any sort of bag. You probably wouldn't fit this into any pockets on any clothing unless maybe you're wearing something like a hoodie, so it's pretty small, pretty convenient to carry around. And the arm mechanism that this drone uses is pretty good. It feels sturdy and has a nice satisfying sort of click at the end. The propellers tuck nicely under the middle section and they just simply slot into place, and you just turn the propellers as you're folding the drone up and it folds up nicely. I really like this all black color. It just looks very stealth, and the fact that it doesn't have any other color on it I actually personally like. Some people might find it a little bit boring. Of course, we also get some of our usual spares. This does come with a set of spare props, just in case you break the ones that are already on the drone. You also get a little Allen key and some screws, not entirely sure what they're for. And of course you get your charger and your battery, which is a 1500 milliamp hour battery. This drone is stated to have a 20-minute flight time, but I highly doubt that. I reckon it'll be between 15 and 18 minutes, so we'll test that later on. The batteries have a little button so you can see how much charge they're holding on the 4 LED indicators. This is a nice little touch. It's not entirely necessary, but nice to have nonetheless. And of course you also get your plug. I'm in the UK, so it's a UK style plug, of course. There is a flap on the back of the drone which hides a micro USB port. This is used to transfer files on and off the drone. It has a 12GB internal storage, which is really nice. It does have to be powered on for you to be able to transfer the files over. This is a little bit annoying because if you run out of battery you have to charge it up again before you can top up the drone. However, the battery does charge up really quickly. It charged up fully in about half an hour, which seemed strangely fast for its size. At any time, even when it's charging, you can hit the indicator button and you can see how much charge is in the battery. The battery fits pretty snugly in the drone. It has this little latch on the side that you pull and you can pop the battery out, so it's really nice and easy to put it in and out. Sometimes on drones they have really silly systems that hold the battery in place, but this one's nice and simple and works well. So one of the first major issues I had with this drone, and unfortunately it wasn't the only one, is that I could not connect to the Wi-Fi that this drone was emitting. I don't know why this is, because the drone is stated to use 2.4 and also 5.8 GHz Wi-Fi, which my phone supports. I could not get any phones to connect to this drone, any Android phones to be precise. I tried an iPhone and I was able to connect into the drone. I then through the app was able to change the frequency from 5.8 to 2.4, and then I was able to use my Android phone. This was really frustrating because I had to borrow someone else's phone to do this. Once I was able to change the frequency, I could use my own phone and then I was able to get some footage. So once that was out of the way, I was able to do my first flight test, which I'm going to show you now. The drone has a automatic takeoff and landing system, so you can hit one button and the drone will take off or land for you. It won't automatically land back in the same place, it will just land from where it's hovering or go straight down. You can see here that once the drone takes off, it hovers really well in the same spot thanks to its visual positioning system, which looks down at the ground. It can hold its position so it doesn't fly away, but that's just in theory. As I'm about to show you, it doesn't really work very well. The visual positioning works most of the time when the drone is stable and you're not really moving the controls around too much. Like you can see here, I'm just getting myself into frame, and for the most part the drone stays in position and holds actually pretty nicely. It wasn't too windy, so it wasn't much of a challenge for it, but I did do a second flight test where there was a little bit more wind and it still seemed to perform pretty well. I bring the drone closer to me here, so just to get a close-up shot, because I want to test out the camera. You'll see I don't touch any of the controls and it starts to drift over to the side. I hit to the right and it just completely ignores my inputs and then starts to fly away. This actually happened 3 separate times on 2 different flight tests, and it basically made me lose complete confidence in the drone, because any time I took the drone to any height or even tried to kind of fly it around, it would just fly off into the distance. So this drone is really unsafe to use. There doesn't appear to be any ways to calibrate this, or any calibration I could have done to fix this. It just seemed to keep happening. There was a calibration you can see here which relates to the remote control, which I don't have. This can be purchased at a later date, but this drone really isn't very reliable, and I don't know why they didn't just include GPS. To me it appears that they've just used a basic visual positioning system, because it really doesn't work very well, and even their so-called kind of return to home feature really doesn't work very well. So this drone's kind of flawed in its design. It didn't work well at all in my testing. It may perform better for some other people, but I can only talk about my own experience, and it really wasn't very good. The drone has several smart features. The one that was easy to use and worked pretty reliably was the tracking mode. So when you're in this mode, you simply draw a square around the object you want to track. So for me, of course, I did myself. You hit start tracking and you can see the drone tracks you pretty well. If you move too fast, it does sometimes lose you, and you'll get a message that says that it's lost the object that was being tracked. But it does work pretty well. I was quite impressed with this. This is included on some pretty budget drones, so this isn't necessarily new technology, and this isn't something you have to pay a lot of money for, so I don't think this is necessarily a really advanced feature. There are quite a few settings you can adjust with this drone, such as the speed, the maximum distance you can fly it from yourself, the maximum height. There's even a mode that supposedly will return the drone to you when it loses signal, but from my experience I don't trust this at all. I didn't do any range tests with this drone because, as I said, I simply don't trust it. I did try to do an altitude test. I got the drone to about 10 meters before it then just flew off and plummeted into the ground. I was never able to figure out why this happened. Again, I did check if there was any extra calibration I could do, but there's not. So this drone just kind of feels like it has a mind of its own sometimes, but I simply think that the technology either doesn't work or it needs updating. This drone does support firmware updates, so I'm hoping that this can be fixed in the future, but I kind of feel like this is not going to be the case because it really doesn't work very well at all. The camera is one of the few strong points that this drone has. Here are some pictures. You can see they are pretty good quality, but for the price that this drone is at, I feel that so far it's pretty overpriced, as it doesn't have GPS and doesn't really perform well. So the camera does pick up for some of that disappointment. The camera quality is pretty good, it's pretty stable because it has electronic image stabilization. However, you will see in some of my footage, when the drone is moving around a fair bit, you get these black borders that come into the video and just make it look pretty bad. I'm guessing this is something to do with the image stabilization. I got about a 15-minute total flight time on both my tests with this drone, which is a whole 5 minutes under the 20-minute flight time stated by High-Rate, so this is again pretty disappointing. It is good for the size of drone, I have to admit. I was quite impressed that it was able to get that, but it's disappointing that it's quite far off of the estimated time on this drone's specifications. I really don't feel like I can recommend this drone to anyone. It caused me quite a few problems. I've crashed the drone several times already because it simply flies away. I did have some long periods where I didn't have any problems and the drone was stable, but it crashed so often that I completely lost all confidence in it. I definitely wouldn't use this in any scenic locations if I was on any high hills or anywhere where if I lost the drone it'd be very difficult to get back, and that's not something you want when you're flying a drone. You want to fly with confidence, knowing that when you want it to come back to you, it will. I think High-Rate made a really big mistake not just including GPS into this drone and trying to use their so-called visual positioning system, because in my experience it really didn't work very well and just caused me lots of problems. The smart features are okay, the intelligent tracking works fairly well, as you can see here. My advice would be, if you're thinking of buying this drone, please wait for some other reviews to see if maybe my drone was faulty and I just had a really bad experience with it, which could be the case, or I would wait to see if there are any firmware updates to this drone to see if that fixes any of the problems. Anyway, thanks for watching guys. I hope this video was helpful to you. If you have any questions, please leave a comment down below for me and I'll do my best to get back to you. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing for more videos like this one. And of course, I'll see you in the next one.